just brought Zig out for a little walk, get away from the laptop and come and check out the lake. It's this week the hours have been extended until 6 PM, which quite nicely kind of fits in with my sort of work schedule really. So I normally tend to sort of knock it on the head around 4 PM most days, and with that it gives me sort of a couple of hours after work to play with through the week. So I can probably get in as little as 2 hours or as much as sort of 6 extra hours on the bank with my sort of 1 or 2 days over the weekend. So it gives me a little bit more bank time, a little bit more fishing time, and a little bit more time to try and catch that sort of elusive winter whacker. So yeah, it kind of gives me a little bit more to play with really. So it's, like I say, it's Friday lunchtime. I'm looking to come out later on after I sort of knock work on the head for another week, up to date with all my work and my emails and bits and pieces. So yeah, I'm going to get out for a couple of hours before the girlfriend has to go to work for a night shift, and just squeeze in a couple of hours really. So just come down just to see where any other anglers are at and what I've got to play with when I get down here, because what I want to do is just kind of make the most of just flicking a couple of rods out really, and then reacting to anything that I see. I don't want to be sort of faffing around deciding where I want to go and that sort of thing. If I get the lay of the land now and where other anglers are at the moment, they may obviously they may disappear by later, but yeah, it gives me something to play with up front at least, and I kind of know what I've got to play with when I get down to the lake. I'm currently stood on the back of the wind, because if I was down there, in which I made my way around from, you wouldn't be able to hear a single word I said. We've got sort of 40-mile-an-hour winds hacking in down there. So I'm in two minds of what to do later really, whether to sit off the back of it because it's not that warm, to be completely honest, it's rather fresh, or go and sit right in the front and the teeth of it and sit it out for a couple of hours. So yeah, so not really too sure what to do at the moment, but just spending sort of half an hour with the dog, bring him out, like I say, take my eyes away from the laptop, and just come and have a little look like I do most days really. But like I say, more for putting in a bit of a plan for later on when I can literally just come and chuck a couple of rods out. So as far as I can see at the moment, there are sort of 4 other anglers on, but like I say, that could well change in the space of a few hours when I get back down here later. But I'm just going to sort of carry on just having a little mooch around, seeing what's what. But that is how the sort of next couple of weeks are really going to pan out. Maximise the after work sessions where I can, and then try and squeeze in 1 or 2 days over the weekend, with ultimately trying to put this one sort of biggie on the mat that I've been chasing for the last sort of 8 weeks. So that's the current state of play. I'm just going to have a little look around, like I say, for half an hour, make my way back home, have some lunch, finish off my work, and I'll catch up with you later on when I get back down the lake. So it's coming up to around 5:45. As you would have seen from the intro to this video, we can now fish an hour later, which is brilliant because it means that I can get out on short couple of hour sessions of an evening, possibly 2-3 times a week, on top of my sort of weekend sessions. When I arrived, it was nice and sunny, sort of bit of cloud in the sky, but it felt comfortable on the back of this wind, opposed to the complete opposite end of the lake where yeah, it felt absolutely fresh when I took my afternoon dog walk. But when I got here, a right hander out just onto the back of the wind, the flat water, sort of half depth, because I didn't think, you know, it wasn't as warm as it was at the weekend, so I've just kind of reduced it right down to half depth and just put it out over onto the flat water. Then the left-hander, I literally just underarmed a solid bag out. Nothing too crazy, pretty simple, just literally one bite tactics, and that was that. But the sun, as the sort of late afternoon has been going, has rapidly disappeared. It's now overcast. It's been sort of off and on raining for the past half an hour or so, and yeah, it's nearly time to get the rods in. 2 hours just goes in a blink of an eye. But if I don't get out and do it and make the most of those extra 2 hour sessions now until the end of the month, then yeah, I'm massively sort of limiting my chances really. So I've got to make the most of them where I can. But yeah, as I mentioned, typically it's starting to rain now as I've just been sort of sat on the bucket there, just watching over the water like a hawk. It is starting to rain typically as I've sort of got to start packing down and get out. The missus has got a night shift tonight, so I need to be out this gate bang on 6 o'clock. So yeah, I can't be taking my time tonight. I need to get everything in the next 10 minutes or so and get myself off home. So I'll be coming back out again Sunday for a whole full day session. So I've got a whole day at my disposal this weekend. The weather is looking relatively similar to this, just overcast, possibly maybe a shower or two, but nowhere near as warm as it was last weekend. So we'll deal with that on Sunday. We'll come and do it again, and like I say, I'll get down here and keep my eyes on the water to see if they can give themselves away before I get, you know, even thinking about getting myself set up in a swim. So we'll address that on Sunday. But yeah, for these last 2 hours, nothing has happened, unfortunately. I've not seen anything. So we'll take it again from there, and I'll catch up with you in a couple of days. Right, because this rod's going to be pretty much going out and probably staying out the entire day, to be quite honest. I just thought I'd quickly show you it now. So literally a lead clip setup, really basic, simple setup. Use it everywhere I go. Sort of a foot of tungsten tubing, 3 ounce flat pair lead, down to sort of 7-inch semi-stiff boom, putty, and then a really short chod section. So ultimately a hinge stiff rig. Now, because the spot that I'm going to be fishing is clean, but then a bit of weed sort of around it that I found from previous sort of leading around and casting around and stuff on previous weeks, this is going to be like a one cast sort of cast. Basically, it's got to go out first time. I don't want to have to keep repeating, you know, repeat casting, sending leads flying through the water based on what I've just seen. So I've wrapped it up. I know the distance already to this clear spot. I know where I've got to stand. But if for any reason this cast doesn't go exactly where I want it to, a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, I've got the safety net of this sort of extended boom and the hinge stiff just gently fluttering down and landing on some of that weed that's out there that I know of. It's not too bad in places, so I'll be 100% confident that this is fishing. I'll test this in the margin before I chuck it out, just so that that kind of sinks down, not rapidly, but enough just to get that sort of sat upright and sort of just nestling on the bottom. But yeah, it's going to be a one cast jobby. I don't want to go fresh in the water and sending any leads through there that are going to cause any sort of amount of disturbance. So I'm going to get this out now, and yeah, fingers crossed we might be in with a chance of a fish. how that rod went out sort of as best as I could have expected it, really. Went down, felt it down, obviously tested the ring and the margins absolutely bang on, and yeah, happy with that. And I'm quite happy, to be quite honest with you, to leave it just sat there all day. I don't feel the need to disturb it. It's out there, it's fishing, and I just think there's less disturbance in and around that area, the better, really. Not quite sure what to do with this second rod yet. Seems like all the bird life is starting to wake up the minute I flick the camera on. The geese were just having an absolute rear up. Got the coots scrapping away there in the middle of the lake. The seagulls are buzzing around because they think I've got something to offer them. And the swans that seem to have made a reappearance have disappeared right off over there. So yeah, it's all kicking off this morning. But that rod that went out on a pink sent from heaven pop up. So really nice pastel pink, smelled divine, and I just then sort of give him a little squirt of the sent from heaven booster bottle, like I do with sort of all my hook baits just before casting out, just to give them a little bit more pulling power. So the reason I've opted to come up this end of the lake is because, unlike last weekend, the wind has changed direction completely, whereas down there last weekend, as you would have seen from the video, it was flat calm, it was lovely, and it seems like that wind that was pushing down in that direction is now turned around into westerly, northwesterly, and it's kind of like sweeping round in a bit of an arc, really. So it's coming from sort of like there and there, and it's just coming round, sweeping round, and just heading off down in that direction. And after I've come popping down yesterday for an hour, it really isn't the warmest, so I've opted to fish off the back of the wind, like I did on Friday afternoon. And not only that, so I've seen one show, obviously, and it just feels loads warmer. I went round the back, just obviously towards the entrance area when I got here as well, and the only other thing before I see the show that I had to go on is that I saw a bleed come up just on the wind line, and it was enough to flatten off that sort of tail end of the breeze as it whips round. It was just enough to flatten it off, and that's the only sign before I saw that show that I had to go on. I did spend a good amount of time looking down there in the swim, because obviously, you know, the fish were down there last weekend, that's for certain, but I didn't see anything. And like I say, I've definitely made the right location choice based on obviously the two pieces of activity that I've seen this morning. So I think at the moment I'm just going to have to kind of suck it and see, really, and see if anything materialises of flicking this rod out. But I'm confident that maybe one or two fish might just be mooching around in and around this area off the back of that chilly wind. So I guess only time will tell, but it's encouraging, and that's what I like to see before I even think about getting any rods out, is you know, just something to fish to, something to actually make me want to fish in that area or put a rod out in that area to start with. So I've seen that, got a rod fishing, not quite sure what I want to do with this second one yet. The sun is meant to make an appearance based on that cloud slowly starting to disappear. So it's meant to be sort of off and on sun throughout the morning, so it might be a chance of another zig opportunity. But yeah, at the moment I'll just give it sort of half an hour or an hour or so, see if there's anything else that I can chuck this second rod to, and take it from there. But I think it's time for a brew, and keep watching over this water. Second rod then has gone out. I've opted for a 7-foot zig based on some information that was shared with me yesterday. So I've just flicked that onto the back of the sort of ripple into the flat area, the slack water, away from that wind, and just going to go with that for the next hour or two. Maybe just flick it around and keep that one rod on the spot that I put out first thing this morning. But like I say, based on some information that was shared with me yesterday, the fish was sort of 7 foot up or so, 7.5 foot up in the water off the bottom, and gradually sort of made their way down as the day went on before they disappeared, based on the information that Rich's Deeper was transmitting back to him. So that's what I've gone with at the moment. It's really quiet. That wind's slowly starting to pick up, and yeah, it is rather chilly, even though it's kind of just swinging around the edge of me. It is yeah, rather fresh. So I'm going to get the kettle back on and just keep an eye out over the water for the rest of the morning. So as you can see, I am in the car. Believe it or not, it's probably about 4:10 and we're into the last couple of hours of the session. Today it's just been lifeless, soulless, just devoid of any life whatsoever, apart from seeing that one fish bosh out this morning. First thing this morning, I've seen nothing else. I've had nothing to work with all day, like video content wise. I did sort of, you know, chuck the zig around this morning, hoping that the sun was meant to be coming out as it was forecast, but that didn't even appear. And yeah, just kind of stayed overcast. That northwesterly wind is actually really quite cold, and just being stood out in it all day, it's kind of worked its way through to my core, to be honest. So yeah, it's certainly a bit on the chilly side, and as you can tell now, the rain has started to come down as well, which was forecast for yeah, the last couple of hours of the day. So what I've done, like I say, I persevered with the zigs for a few hours this morning for all it was worth, and just kind of re-chucked them around different areas every sort of half an hour or so. And like I say, that didn't really pan out and didn't really you know, do anything in particular. Didn't really get me a bite, but it was worth sort of, like I say, just flinging it around based on what I was shown yesterday by Rich and his Deeper. So it was worth a go for a few hours, just panning that around and just sort of navigating around the swim with it. So that was always worth it anyway. I've had the solid bag. The rod is now a solid bag rod, sorry, and I did have it out really short, sort of in short, just for a couple of hours, just to mix it up, really, change it about, see if there was anything in close quarters, which hasn't happened. But now, as the rain's just started, I managed to get it out but long, and just off the back you could probably see the slick off the back of my bag, the slick out there. I just kind of whacked it long. As the wind had kind of stopped, on the back of it I saw a little plume of bubbles come up, and waiting and waiting, expecting to see a bird, and nothing popped up. So I thought, you know what, I've seen nothing else all day, so I quickly knocked up a solid bag, as I mentioned, give it a good squirt of Crimino oil, and basically just whacked it out there. And yeah, just going to sit on that now for a couple of hours. And bubbles could have been absolutely everything, absolutely anything, but I know for certain it definitely wasn't a bird. So it's about the only sign of fishy activity, if at all it was a fish. But it's the only thing I've got to work on that I've had in front of me throughout today. So we'll see what happens for the next couple of hours. But yeah, it's been really hard work. Like, I feel mentally drained. Just stood out in that sort of cold wind, just scanning and watching the water like a hawk for yeah, for next to no signs of fish at all. So yeah, it's been a bit of a hard going day today, but like I say, the rods are still out. I haven't touched that left-hander, so I put it out this morning over to the spot that I fish in this swim when I fished it a couple of previous times. Nice sort of clean spot with a bit of weed around it and stuff. So I've just left that, because if there are fish kind of mooching in and out of that sort of out of bounds area, then I didn't really want to go disturbing them with recasting a rod that I don't really need to recast, when I could just use the other one and like the zig rod and just alternate between the two depending on how the day panned out. So I kind of just left that one out really. But yeah, sorry there's been a lack of updates on the sort of content front as such. But yeah, I've really had nothing to work with, so I'm just going to keep sat in the car now for the last couple of hours, keep everything crossed that something happens. But if it's anything, today's anything to go by, then I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen. But hey, it only takes a minute for things to change. So both rods are still out, still fishing. To the final 10 minutes of the session. As you can see, still in the same position, nothing has materialized, nothing's happened, not seen anything, but that's been pretty much the whole day anyway. So just going to keep this short and sweet. Thanks for watching. If you've got this far, I hope I haven't bored you to death. As always, come and get involved over on any of my social media, whether that be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it may be. Come and say hi, always welcome over on my pages. We'll go again next week, I suppose. Not really anything more I can say. Like I say, if you've got this far, then thanks for watching. As always, we will catch up again next week.